Hi everyone, and welcome. I am Alex's second oldest son, Dave, and I have a poem to read. I also had a few stories to tell, but the point of most of them would be that Dad had many lessons for us as growing up as kids, and I think one of the lessons was we could always have fun no matter how serious the work was. The good work could be done, and we could still have fun doing it. I was so happy I was able to find my way into the program today. I think Dad had something to do with a lot of how this came together, whether directly or indirectly. But it become a bit of a tradition for me to head out to Victoria and take in the Highland Games with Dad. And we would have, of course, taken all the Scottish music and dancing and festivities, but we'd make sure to have a couple of beers and haggis while we were there. And when we got the news of Dad's condition and we had the opportunity to start making our way out to Victoria, we gave him a call. He had a phone by his bed, and we gave him a call, and first thing he did was apologize for having to cancel the games this year. And that was hardly the first thing on my mind, but we had a good talk about that and our experiences while we went to the games. And of course, Dad said he wouldn't be there with me, but he certainly was, although I had to have a share of beer and haggis. So Dad's dad, who we saw little pieces of in the slideshow and people might have talked about. Dad's the one that named him after himself, after a few beers. He was known to be a bit fey. And what that means is that some people would assume there was some sort of clairvoyance or supernatural around that, but I know Dad would bristle at the thought of anything like that. But I think what it is you just come to understand the human condition, the way we respond to things, to appreciate that some people won't grab the happiness that's available all around them. People will believe differently than they know as adults, and that it becomes our job to let people know that God's love is available to all of us at all times. We just may have to remind each other of that, and it's a good way to move about community. I think Dad was a bit fey. In a way, he had this amazing intuition into his therapy, into what his ministry needed. And when I read this poem that he wrote to his children a couple of years ago, it's poetic and prophetic, as so much of his work was. I'm going to read that now. And when he fell, a great crash reverberated through the forest, and cries echoed all around. But when the dust of morning settled, there was laughter in the air. His life was full, his joy complete. His work was done. The place he filled was once a clearing where all alone he stood, but now surrounded by his family. He was supported on all sides by their love and understanding, their laughter and their zeal. And when in the ways of all things his day to sunset had run, his joy could be no greater, for they held him in their bosom, and his happiness was complete. In the years they had all outgrown him in compassion and in love, and all he ever stood for, and all that he had loved, he saw in them, and it gladdened his overflowing heart. Many had come to him for shelter when the storms of life were wild, and he loved them into wholeness, and they blessed him in return. And now he saw his children, who believed as he himself, perform their acts of compassion. And so his song went on, echoing down the valleys and across the prairies wide. How could he not be proud? How could he not be fulfilled? For God, who had guided his strength, was also leading them. There is no greater legacy than this. And when he fell, his joy was great.